Today we have our honorable guests from JICA and from Bangkok Governor, Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, the Department of Environmental Quality Promotion Thailand, and myself, Chadchart Sittipunt, the landscape as a UNCCC Global Climate Award recipient. Would like to welcome you to this session, the session about Bangkok Master Planning on Climate Change. How can we reach the goal of 2030 in a sustainable way? So today I'm very honored to open this session with Mr. Miyazaki Akihiro, the Deputy Director, General Global Environmental Department Office of Climate Change, JICA. Please welcome Mr. Miyazaki on the stage. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us.
Okay. Okay, good morning. So everyone, ladies and gentlemen. So I am honored to deliver my opening speech on behalf of the organizer, so Bangkok Metropolitan Administration BMA, and Department of Environmental Quality Promotion, Ministry of Natural Resource and Environment Thailand Monde, Overseas Environment Cooperation Center Japan OECC, and Japan International Cooperation Agency JICA. Since climate change is one of the major challenges of our time and posing the substantial threat to the human security, stability, and prosperity across the society, JICA has prioritized development cooperation on climate change through promoting low-carbon, climate-resilient urban development and infrastructure investment, supporting climate policy and institutional development, enhancing the climate risk assessment and countermeasure, and also enhancing conservation and management of the forest, other ecosystem. With a strong belief that climate change is an indispensable factor for sustainable development, JICA has made effort to integrated climate action and sustainable development, build global partnership with diverse stakeholders, and take the best of Japan. With BMA, JICA initiated its development cooperation as early as 2009 with a small-scale group training in Japan. The dispatch of the technical expert at the first phase. After that, the cooperation has expanded to development of the Bangkok Master Plan on Climate Change 2030 to 2023 at the second phase, where support to elaborate mitigation target and adaptation goal in 2020 are provided, mobilizing the sector expert as well as cooperation by City of Yokohama. This second phase effort provided important foundation in the third phase cooperation, based on which BMA implemented climate action both in mitigation and adaptation in more organized manner, with a strong engagement of several BMA departments and as well as subdivision for climate change strategy at the focal point. I'm extremely proud of that the BMA had made great achievement of the climate change mitigation target and adaptation goal in 2020 as a result of tremendous effort through local government administration together with partnership with a local government policy and measure as well as engagement of the citizen, the private sector, academia, and other stakeholders. At the capital of Royal Kingdom of Thailand, as well as the city of ASEAN region, BMA has demonstrated very meaningful achievement. Also, I'm grateful that Mr. Chadchart Sittipunt, new Bangkok Governor, announced enhanced the climate action by Bangkok. For example, that the BMA decided to aim 90% GHG emission reduction in 2030 and GHG net zero emission in 2050 with a wide engagement of stakeholders, including the national government ministry and agency, private sector, academia, NGO, and Bangkok citizen. Today's side event an excellent opportunity to share lessons learned from Bangkok with the audience and replicate their effort in their part of the world for scaling up climate action together. Please enjoy our side event today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Miyazaki, for your kind cooperations to reach the goal of net zero emission of Bangkok in 2030. This is quite a challenging vision. How can we achieve that? So let me introduce our honorable speakers on the stage, and I will introduce one by one. Please welcome Mr. Dr. Feda Marem from the Department of Environmental Quality Promotion, Ministry of Natural Resource and Environmental, Thailand. Dr. Feda will give us a bigger picture of how our nation, Thailand as a nation, moving forward to the net zero emission. The next honorable guest is Mr. Pornpom Wikitset, the advisor of Bangkok Governor, BMA, just here with us to share the vision of the governor and the Bangkok as a capital city of Thailand. And our next guest is Mr. Tose Wasuro, researcher from the Overseas Environmental Cooperation Center of Japan, who's worked hand in hand with BMA to come up with this plan. And lastly, with Mr. Fugoda Koji, former chief advisor of JICA, the project for capability development to accelerate low carbon resilient society into Southeast Asia region from JICA. Thank you so much. This is such combination from the nation to the city and from the international collaboration from JICA Japan. So let me hear from Dr. Feda to begin with. How was Thailand as a nation drive to this policy? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone and joining us today. And I'm from the Department of Environmental Quality Promotion, as we are appointed as Fukupoi, which is I think Fukupoi is like action for climate empowerment. And so today I would like to talk about in the dimension of engagement of the stakeholder and for the awareness raising and along with the Paris Agreement for the action for climate empowerment. So as I mentioned, we are the appoint as Fukupoi. So and in this case, so I would like to kind of discuss on that. We are engaged with the or group of the stakeholder. We're talking about the whole society. So with the whole society, we engage with all the stakeholders, for example, like youth engagement and also the private sector and or other organization. So with the as we are working implemented with the 6 elements, including like education, training, awareness raising, also participation, international cooperation. From this, I would like to start with the education that what we have implemented. We are incorporated with the Thailand education policy, and we have the school curricula that we already have implemented with the Thailand policy. In this case, in the past, we have started the curricula since on 2008. It started from the environmental education, but right now we have implemented the climate education in the curriculum. And this part, so for now, because of as our Prime Minister has announced on to reach to the net zero in 2065 and the carbon neutrality in 2050, this is our challenges. And for this part, we all have initiate several programs. For example, we have like an eco school. We have over 600 participants of the eco school. We have Green Scout. We also have the program of the Green Youth and also the ACE Youth Camp. And for example, and we just have as a youth camp just kind of 6 months ago, and we also have the youth delegation this year to come to join us for the COP27. And for the training, we have not just our organization, is also the many government agencies have arranged and provided training program for the climate change and also the related issue. And for the part of public awareness, we have the continuous of the effort for the stakeholder to have the public awareness raising activity. We, for example, we have like a zero waste school, zero waste community. This is for the whole nation that we have the activity or in the country. And we also, the QP, our organization, also have the implementation of we have like over 300,000 volunteers on the environmental and also the natural resources and environmental protection. So we have over 300,000 networking, this is a very important for us to work in the whole country. And also this is kind of for the example of what the activity in Thailand. Maybe I might just stop here for now, and then we will listen to other organizations from the JICA and BNP, and then we will discuss more later. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Feda, for the overview of how the nation would move forward in action to the net zero emission policy. The next speaker, Mr. Pranpom Wikitset, the advisor of Bangkok Governor. The young blood of the governor, and also how can Bangkok imply the climate change policy agenda into action. Please.
Thank you very much, Kap Kun Gotsakorn. Please wait 1 minute for the slide.
please welcome to our Thai Pavilion. We are right now talking about the Bangkok Master Plan to the climate change in 2030 with the collaboration of BMA and JICA. So now we have the Governor Advisor, Kun Prom Prom with us. And over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Pon Prom Vikasrath, and I'm the advisor to the Governor of Bangkok, Dr. Chadchart Sittipunt. So we've been in office for 4 months, and of course, climate change is a key priority for the governor. That's why he sent me here, quite a long way from home. And and we would like to have BMA as a more engaging entity within the COP organization. So let me share with you briefly on the governor's policy and the linkage to the issue of climate change. Okay. So first, ever since the election campaign in June, the governor likes to use the term Bangkok as a livable city for all. So this is a short sentence, but it means a lot, and it has 2 key meanings. The first, please note the word livable. Livable means it's a city that is very friendly to live in, not only considering economic growth, but also taking in consideration quality of life, environmental, social inequality, etc. And the most important part of the sentence is for all. So we know Bangkok, Thailand, some say, heaven for the rich, not so good for the poor, etc. So we take inequality extremely seriously, and that's why the last part for all is probably the most important part of the sentence. And this also has a link to climate change in terms of resiliency. We understand that Bangkok faces effects from flooding and more to come. And those who are most affected by this is the lower income community in Bangkok. So resiliency is key. And at the bottom you see number 1 versus 98. You may question what is this number? It's also the 2 numbers that we always talk about in all of the talks we go to, whether it be social or economic or environmental talks. So 1 is the number given to Bangkok by MasterCard, saying Bangkok is the most visited or the best place to go as a tourist. So we are number 1 in the world. But what is number 98? Number 98 is given by the Economic Intelligence Unit, saying Bangkok is the 98th city most livable in the world. So what does it mean? It means that we are good for tourists to come. We're the best in the world. But would you want to live in Bangkok? Would you want to bring your children, move your family to Bangkok? We're the 98th in the world in terms of livability. So there is a disconnect here. And in an environment today that global competition is about bringing in the best people, expats from around the world to live in your country, live in your city, to make the smartest people come and contribute to your economy. If we are only good for tourism, but not good for general livability, then we will be unable to compete with other cities around the world. And the governor looks into all different dimensions, and he separates into 9, environment, education, health, etc. And from the 9 dimensions, it's split into 216 policies. Very small, but very doable, and does not require a lot of budget. He talks about, Bangkok already having big capillaries in your system. But what we need is arteries, the small lines that connect. So this is, and out of the 216 and 9 dimensions, a lot of these policies are related to climate change. And that's why, we really focus on this issue, and that's why he sends me here today and to share with you. So in terms of our past work, we have done a lot of work with JICA, who's been tremendously helpful and supportive to Bangkok administration. As Mr. Miyazaki mentioned at the beginning, JICA has been ever present since 2009 and has helped us develop the master plan from 2013 to 2023, and also the revised version of 2021 to 2030 in line with the national government's commitment. Bangkok can be separated into the emissions that where it comes from in terms of around 30% comes from transportation. You know, we're notorious for, you know, bad traffic and black smoke, etc. But also the main core of our carbon emissions do come from energy use, from commercial buildings, residential buildings, manufacturing, which we do have on the outer part of towns, and also from municipal wastewater management. But we do also have green space, which is provided as a, you know, a removal to our city. And here's the goal that we mentioned. We aim to reduce by 19% by 2030. So what I want to focus a little bit more today is the actions of the governor and how it's really related to climate change. So first, we have the 19% that I mentioned, or equivalent to 10.15 million tons carbon dioxide equivalent. Actually, we are also considering to increase the target to 30% along with the national commitment. But actually, what the governor wants is that he wants a yearly reduction plan. So we say we will reduce by X amount in 2030, we will become net zero by 2050. But to a lot of people, what does it mean? It's a long way off. We might not live to see that moment in 2050. You know, he wants a yearly plan to see if it's 30% by 2030, then it's 4% per year. Then we said each year we're going to reduce 4%. How? We need an action plan. So this is kind of the key agenda that the governor has asked the environmental department, V&A, to support him with. And of course, we do have a lot of partners who want to help BMA with this. You know, we had a big event with JICA a couple of months ago, and also we have the Earth Owl coalition of private sector that have committed to the BMA that they want to support in terms of energy reduction. And I want to split into 4 core parts of the actions that BMA want to promote in order to help the city's carbon mitigation efforts. First is the transport. Transport, the government talks always about feeder system. What does it mean? It means the first mile and the last mile. We have a big, you know, monorail system, the SkyTrain, the underground, and more lines are coming up. But this is the main lines. But how to connect from your home to the main station nearest to your home, and from the stations to your work is still a problem. So feeder comes into play. This is the key that we want to really push hard. And what does the feeder look like? EV buses. Now we just launched 2 EV routes that the BMA officially owns, because we also have a BMTA, which is a bus state-owned enterprise. But BMA, we looked at the routes that BMTA don't operate and try to fill in the gap. So EV bus. And bike lanes. People say bike lanes is a myth. It will never happen in Bangkok. You'll die. It's so dangerous. But we do want to promote bike lanes. But our bike lanes is not the main lines. We don't want you to get on your bike and ride for an hour from home to work. We want bike lanes to be part of a calculated, strategic feeder system. So ensure a bike lane that is safe and wide and you know, well protected, and links from a place of community where a lot of people live, high density, to their nearest train station. So they can ride from their home to the train, and then at the train station provide a nice lock. Only that, a very small investment, a lock for the bike, so that people feel safe, that they can ride the bike, park their bike, lock, go to work for the entire day, come back, and their bike will still be there. This is all. This is what we want to do for the bike lane. Same as the walkways. If anything is suitable for covered walkways where, you know, it's pleasant to walk in and not affected by, you know, hot weather, we want to promote that as well. And all of this is strategic and according to the feeder thinking. EV ecosystem, we know as Bangkok local administration. We do not have all the regulation powers how to promote EV ecosystem, like the tax incentives and all that. We do not have. But what we can provide is infrastructure. Bangkok, we own a lot of assets around town. We have district offices, 50 of them around, some of them in center of town area, very strategic. We have a lot of parks also in center of town. We have hospitals, we have 437 schools. So we look at all these assets and see where they are, and if they are strategic to installing EV charging stations, and we can connect with the private sector. And a lot of private sectors already approach us and say, okay, we want to install in here and here and here, this park, this office, sure. And with that, we can promote ecosystem without having to invest a lot. And also, we have a lot of vocational schools where we teach, people many skills, manual, automatic, and many skills. And we see that retrofitting ICE cars, internal combustion engines, into electric vehicles is a sunrise career. We have local mechanics. If we can train them to have the knowledge of how to convert ICE cars into EVs, maybe motorcycle, which is a trend, then we can provide these people with jobs and process into a more sunrise career as well. And the last, we start with ourselves. Conversion of electric vehicle, VMA vehicles into EVs, that we can do, and now we are in process of renting small garbage trucks that go into the communities, very small communities, canal side. Normally you get people to go and drag out the garbage, use manual labor. But we say, no, we want to help them and do not need that manual labor and invest in small tuk-tuks or EV three-wheelers to go into the soil and collect the garbage. Just to go quickly, and energy is, of course, is a big part according to the numbers I've just shown you. So we have a lot of promotion of renewable energy and energy efficiency. But again, this is also an obstacle that BMA, we do not have all the regulation powers or authority to really support that. But in terms of infrastructure, we can. But we can do, energy reduction campaign in schools, which we are in talks with EGAT, which is our main power producer in Thailand, to do a campaign together. And also with the City that will be shared later on, then we are in process of making an energy plan as well. And waste is a big part of BMA's work. The governor has set food waste as a main priority for his administration. Food waste, of course, is a problem for waste management, but it's also a problem for climate change, because if treated, with not in a best manner, if it goes into landfill, it creates methane, which is 25 times as potent as carbon dioxide, as you probably all know. So we put a flag and we say food waste is our key priority. And we have zero waste programs that we are doing, upgrading garbage collection system, and also on-site wastewater treatment. Start from the source. Do not invest in big centralized wastewater recycling plant, but start on-site. Yeah. And last, we have the 1 million tree campaign, where a lot of private sector and other organizations have cooperated and they've pledged. Right now, we have more than 1,600,000 trees that have been pledged, and within 4 months we have planted, this is not an update number, but around 150,000 trees already. And the last one is the 15-minute park, where we know that in the middle of town we have big parks already, which is great, but access to parks from those from around the city is still not good. So we want to promote to build smaller parks, very, very little parks and not a lot of investment, where people can go in and enjoy, fresh air and, green space near their homes. Do not have to drive all the way into the city center to enjoy the parks. And adaptation is also a big part, and we have, when people say adaptation, Bangkok, they only think about flooding, but there are more, of course. food security is something we want to really push for, and public health and human settlement and security is one that the governor has attention. Yeah, and okay. And last one I want to talk about is the governor always think about when we do something, we start at ourselves first. We don't want to do the entire city if BMA as an organization cannot do. So that's why we have a policy of BMA Net Zero. Start from ourselves. We have a lot of assets, garbage truck fleet, fire departments, 50 district offices. We have 2 city halls, many hospitals. Start from ourselves. We need to calculate first what are the emissions caused by these assets and what are the plans to reduce. Do we install solar in all of that? Is it worth it? Do we convert everything to EVs? Is it worth it? Have a plan, have an action plan. And the rest, we can potentially looking at offsets, buying, encouraging our neighboring provinces to grow trees, because green area, not even in Bangkok, but provincial areas, will have positive benefit to Bangkok as well. So yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pompom, the advisor of Bangkok Governor. This is very exciting to see Bangkok in such energetic policy and in action. And Mr. Pompom has speak as such. Mr. Chadchart has been with us, the most elected governor ever in the history, so the most beloved governor of Bangkok. Thank you so much. So let's hear for the next our honorable speaker, Mr. Tose Wataru, about his approach on the plan and how JICA has been involved in this emission master planning for Bangkok 2030. Thank you.
Thank you for introducing me, Miss Kun Coach. My name is Wataru Toze, researcher from Overseas Environment Cooperation Center, Japan. I appreciate that I can attend this remarkable event. Thank you so much. Now I'm starting my presentation titled Launch of the City project between Bangkok and Yokohama. I think this project can contribute to the action plan, climate action plan by Bangkok. So let me start my presentation. Okay. I think this contents of this slide already mentioned by Mr. Pompom. Thailand declared ambitious climate target toward 2050 and 2065. Also, Bangkok also has ambitious climate targets that aim to achieve net zero emission toward 2050. Okay. To introduce the activity of Bangkok for achieving the climate target, I showed a scene of Bangkok Climate and Energy Action Conference toward Net Zero GHG emissions that was conducted 25th August in Bangkok. And this conference was held by cooperation between Bangkok and JICA. As you can see, Mr. Chadchart Sittipunt, new Bangkok Governor, and Mr. Takuro Tasaka, Minister and Chief Economic Division from the Embassy of Japan in Thailand. This slide shows active discussion by the private sector in that conference. And in this discussion, many Thai companies participated, that including the company attend Earth Hour 2022 that has strong interest for climate action. And this slide shows a session titled Innovation, Technology and Solutions by Japanese private sector in the conference. And in that introduction of technology and solutions were conducted by Japanese companies and experts. In this slide, I introduce project City-to-City Cooperation by Bangkok and Yokohama that could contribute the climate action by BMA. We have started this project since last July, and this project raised three main themes. So I introduced that three main themes. First one is building a platform for cooperation to promote climate action by BMA and private companies. And as the second one, promoting the Bangkok Master Plan with formulating energy action plan that is based on Bangkok Master Plan and that focus on energy sector. And as the third point, mitigation project to develop concrete mitigation actions through matchmaking between Thai and Japanese private companies. In this slide, I would like to introduce a concrete activity of city-to-city project. As I introduced in the previous slide, to promote building platform, we are planning to organize workshop which raises 4 thematic work stream at the end of November. The activity is to promote building platform that I introduced in the previous slide. Let me introduce 4 themes. At the first point, thematic work stream where we raised energy transition as a themes, which is including hydrogen and ammonium and CCUS. I think that is required to develop and introduce as a future energy solution. And as a second point, we choose electric vehicles. That is also anticipated to introduce as eco traffic. And as a third point, smart city and energy management. That is also required to introduce as an eco solution. And as a last point, we raise the theme as for carbon credits and ESG finances. I think this theme can contribute to the business model and solution for private company as climate action, along with including climate actions. So this is the last slide of my presentation. I would like to conclude this presentation along with 3 themes of city cooperation project. As the first point, from platform for cooperation, I think this can pursue create new business model and solutions, including climate action through the workshop as a new activity by Bangkok and private companies. As a second point, promoting master plan. This is to implement concrete climate policies through formulation of energy action plan with sharing the experience of city of Yokohama. And as a last point, mitigation projects, it is to promote concrete mitigation actions through matchmaking between Thai and Japanese companies. Okay, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for such an insightful approach for the project. So let me introduce the next speaker, Mr. Fukuda Koji, the former chief advisor of JICA and oversee the Carbon and Resilient Society realization in Southeast Asia regions. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, and very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Koji. I'm currently spearheading JICA's technical cooperation to support the LDC implementation. And let me start by extending my sincere thanks for organizers to invitation to us, and at the same time congratulating our colleagues, the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, to move forward with this low carbon agenda beyond 2023, now up to 2050, 2065. And because I cannot speak this way while slides is here, if you indulge me, can I just stand there?
Yes, please, yes.
Thank you.
It's more engaging that way,
Yeah,
yes.
Thank you. This is easier. Okay, thank you. So from my side, so most of the contents of the effort already presented by our Bangkok colleagues, but at the same time with the city-to-city collaboration from YCC colleagues. So what I would do is just to contribute to this session by providing us with a little bit of my observation, humble observation of the current dynamism with respect to this net zero emission. At the same time, some suggestion how to move forward to implement the aspiration. And based on my humble experience at the regional, national, also subnational capacity building. So the first slide, in terms of the stock take of the existing, the current situation is that, as you know, we are not living in a static world. We are living under very dynamic environment, and many things are moving, constantly. And since after COP26 Glasgow, you know that things are moving much faster now. We have the renewed commitment for long-term emission goals made by a bunch of political leadership, not only Thailand, but other countries as well. But for that, what we have seen through this Bangkok's response is that you have demonstrated very swift policy response and capability to reflect this net zero emission, same time long-term aspiration into your master plan. So that's a great move. And second part is that because this concept of carbon neutrality is not it's a standalone subject. It has to be implemented in the context of implementing the Paris Agreement. And this is certainly not the one agency job or just a simply government job. It is requires economy-wide and a whole society approach. And the good news is that the central role of city, in this case Bangkok, BMA, as an agent for implementation remains unchanged. So you have to do what you have to do, and that's how you commit, I think, for the journey to decarbonization. And because we are also engaged in some analytical research on identifying the factors actually influencing the implementation of the action plan, master plan. And my observation is that your master plan and your current effort demonstrate many elements which are also replicable to other cities. So let me just highlight some. One is that, first of all, you certainly demonstrate the sort of the political will at the top management to move forward with this net zero and the carbon neutrality. That's the very basic impetus to start with. The second part, what I find it also fascinating is that you have also demonstrated the multi-stakeholder partnership. And particularly in the process of formulation, you have worked together, the administration, but at the same time academia. So you have a G2A collaboration put in place, inviting and mobilizing your professors, experts, and that's the great move. At the same time, you have also technical basis. You have a city-level GPC compliant inventory. And not many cities have that yet, so you have a numerical basis to start with. That's a strength as well. And then another sort of feature is that you also working in the horizontal reference. Basically, you are working with the other city, in this case, the city of Yokohama, it's a corporation. So this city-to-city cooperation certainly empower your capacity, but also appear to be a learning. And then another aspect, which is also not really evident in other cities, but you have, is that you are already embarking on this quantitative monitoring evaluation process through your midterm review on a quantitative manner. So that's also a great element that sort of ensures quality. And then, as you know, we are now, because the master plan is put in place, your political pledge put in place, it's certainly a time to deliver and to scale up. But in order to get to the implementation, really need to understand the fundamental difference between the requirements under the formulation and the implementation, because there are certainly gaps. And I think the gap is universal, not only Bangkok, but other countries as well. So for the formulation part, as you know, the objective is mainly to sophisticate, support objective is to sophisticate evidence-based planning, and the nature is very much analytically oriented. At the same time, the focal point is usually, the target is usually the focal point and academia-based, and the budget usually coming from planning and research-oriented budget. But when it comes to implementation, now it's a very different story. You need to work on delivery on impact basis through providing or strengthening the means of implementation. And so it's much more practice oriented. And the challenging part is that the main stakeholders now different. It's not only the focal point, but also we need to mobilize a wide range of actors, including sectors, non-state actors like private sector. And the budget is also, nature is more investment oriented. So how do you mobilize that? That's another challenge. So how, from the donor's perspective, how to best support or bridge this gap remains a challenge. Okay, and I'll just leave, because this is a discussion, so I just leave it with a sort of open-end observation, is that to scale up, the actions from now until 2050, 2065, I think we need to do a lot of work, tasks, and there are many considerations need to be made, so I'll just leave some. The one is that perhaps we need to have more enhanced strategic partnership, and meaning that we need to double down our effort to, first of all, in order for the municipal government like Bangkok to deliver the impacts, you need to work very closely with the national governments, what we call the vertical working relationship between municipal and national, because we have, within the city boundary, there are many authorities with jurisdictional mandate. So in order to tap on all the potential, you need to work together with them to maximize the coverage of your actions. And also at the same time, I think Mr. Tozo also mentioned is about how to engage private sector. That's also key, because they are the custodian of technology, but at the same time, they are the ones investing within the city boundary as well. So how do you facilitate this engagement? At the same time, if you look at the climate, it's quite interesting time, because on one side, the environment community is working on this NDC and carbon neutrality, but also the finance community targeting the private the companies. They're working on ESG investment. Other norms are coming up. At the moment, there are not so much convergence yet. So how, in terms of the Bangkok, how those communities can be best converged, and how the administration can facilitate that. That will be another point of consideration for you if you want to move forward. And second point is that really the enhancing, also enabling environment. And this is really coming down to just political commitment and the resource allocation. How do you do that? And on one part, there are many aspirations to invest, but usually the barriers remain in the policy side. There are always the remaining policy gaps, and the risks remain for the private sector to move forward with investment. So how can we sort of get this assurance from the public sector side on the policy reform and harmonization remains a challenge. And second part is really how to, usually the policy makers stop once the plans are formulated, but actually how to follow up with that formulation after formulation is quite important. So maybe there could be some additional step to be considered. And third point is that within the city boundary, I think it's better to invite as much pilot project and demonstrations as possible for you to gain more experiences. And then also, because if you think about 2050, 2065 target, well, this is not really the issue of our generation, it's the next generation. So when it comes to resource allocation, it's very critically important to put the resources, invest into the future generations, the young ones. And then finally, aiming at sustainability impact. Because those climate actions are not just for the sake of emission reductions. So when you take actions, we have to always put the citizens in the very center of the approach. And at the same time, every measure that you think through or to be implemented should have co-benefit impacts, sustainability impacts, such as air pollution mitigation, material circulation, and so forth. So I think that I think altogether that would bring your master plan implementation much more resilient and sustainable in the future. So I'll leave it here for further discussion. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Koji, for the overview. And this is such a very exciting moment for Bangkok and also for the Southeast Asia. How can we move forward and also tackling the climate change? So the last session would be a panel discussion which will be moderated by Mr. Makoto Kato, yes, the member board of director OECC, and yes.
Sawadee-krap. Hello, my name is Makoto Kato from the Overseas Environmental Cooperation Center, Japan. Welcome to our side events. It's nice to have for the panelists like this. We have rich presentations already from different backgrounds. And what we have here is that the Bangkok has made, it's very evident that the Bangkok has made tremendous efforts and already been very successful. But the idea is that we're trying to scale up all these efforts for within Bangkok, but also we are trying to promote all these efforts in the same manner or similar things for as a replication to many parts of the world. So that is what we heard from my colleagues here. And I hope, although the sound system is not really ideal, but maybe if you have any questions, it would be nice if we have some interactive discussion here. So I would like to invite if you have any comments or questions or suggestions to the panelists. But nevertheless, I would like to pose 3 different questions to the panelists. Because what we heard, for example, like the citizens' participation part from the DEQP, and also the as the local government administration Prom already mentioned for the various activities, and then the strong leadership from the new Bangkok Governor, and also Mr. Toze mentioned for the importance of the city-to-city cooperation and also the engagement of the private sector. So I think there are so many new things that are coming up in future. And my best friend, Koji, he has nicely sorted out for the discussion point already. So I think that is something I really try to steal your idea about how we're going to engage this. But I would like to pose 3 different questions. The first question, what are key roles of local governments in climate actions under the Paris Agreement? So it's a very simple question, but maybe you have different ideas. The second question, what do you expect Bangkok and other local governments in the world for action on climate empowerment? And the third question, what are useful approaches to strengthen partnership between stakeholders for climate actions? So you can take any of these questions, or you can actually frame this question as you like. But I would like to start with my friend, Ms. Felda, to start.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the question. Yeah, it's a good opportunity that I want to mention more another point of view that because today we're talking about the city, and actually Thailand, we have a very strong policy and we have a very good of the implementation plan. And for example, like on the city standpoint, we have a very good model from the BMA. And because just like you said, we have organizations working on the cities. And beside the BMA, we have other 76 provinces So from the policy in national policy to subnational policy, I think now we start to we initiate the plan, this emission reduction plan for the province in Thailand. And I think that's a good plan for the future to reach the carbon neutrality in Thailand. So this is that I think this is a good key factor of the partnership and collaboration. But to work on this, even though we have a strong policy and we also have a good plan, but we still need the support. Still need work together, not support the resources support in several dimensions. So this is what we think that this might be a good opportunity in the future that we have the collaboration with our organization, also the private sector, within the country and international organization. Thank you. This is the first question for now.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Well, you took the first question. All right. Thank you. Maybe you have an update to respond to other questions as well. Maybe later. But thank you very much. Well, you can pick up any questions as you like. Okay. Kun Prom.
Maybe I'll talk about the role of the local government in the support of the actions that are being taken place at the national and the global level. So I think the first, what BMA as a local government have to do is follow the guide set by the national government. If they're going to reduce by certain amount, we follow. If they're going to up into 30 to 40% by 2030, commitment to carbon neutral in many years, BMA have to follow. But second, which I think is more important for local administration, as Bangkok, we are capital of Thailand. We are capital not only in terms of politics, but economics, social. We are also the capital of pollution in Thailand as well. It occurs in Bangkok, most of it. So we have to set an example or lead by example and lead by action. We are the capital, and everyone, all the 70-odd provinces looked at Bangkok as the kind of the role model. If we can start here, be the leader, then everyone can follow. We can be, because of the private sector or the academia, most of the people really want to do action in Bangkok. We have to help them help us. If local government can be cooperative in getting everyone to support, we can be the model and everyone can follow. And, it was Koji mentioned about starting from pilot. This is the governor's intention. He has a very training from design thinking to start from building a pilot, and then if it works, you can scale up. Rather than, doing everything all at once, and if it doesn't work, it's already a waste in investment, waste of resources, etc. So we start from pilot, etc. So I just want to illustrate that the role of Bangkok is to be the hope of Thailand as the capital. And if we can do it, others can do it. And also we can use our resources to support other provinces as well. And we also want to work with international organizations, other peer cities, like City organization with Yokohama. I think this is also the trend that we want to go into.
Thank you very much. Well, in a way, it's a little bit, funny to say like a capital of pollution. But whether we call it pollution or not, but actually, the 17% of the entire Thai greenhouse gas emission comes from Bangkok. So that is quite amazing. The shocking. It's a very Bangkok has a very important role to reduce for the emission of Thailand. When it comes to Tokyo in Japan, it's less than 5%. So you can see how big the Bangkok shares in the national emissions, of course, national economies as well. But I think in a way, in another way, Bangkok can lead the national efforts. And also, I think it can also provide a role model for other cities, not only in Thailand, but also in other parts of Asian countries and the world. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Okay, Todo-san.
Thank you, Kato-san. I'd like to answer the question that was raised as a third point. What a useful approach to strengthen partnership between stakeholders for climate action. I think I'd like to answer this question based on the view of city-to-city cooperation between Bangkok and Yokohama. I think it's needed to widely publicize the importance of public sector participants for concrete climate action and the promotion of technology and ideas for solutions. And also, so we are going to conduct a workshop at the end of this month as an activity of city-to-city cooperation project. So, and I also think it's necessary that government to provide infrastructure and support for concrete climate action of private sectors. So we are going to develop energy action plan based on the Bangkok Master Plan as an activity of city-to-city cooperation project. So I believe that city-to-city cooperation project can contribute to such kind of strengthening of partnership between stakeholders. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I believe most of the points are already covered by my presentation, so just a few remarks. When you think about climate actions, I think we need to think through why we need to take climate actions anyway. And it's not just about reducing emissions, and that's why we need to take more whole society approach, and that's why the multi-stakeholder approach is very important to cover the needs of different parts of the society. And I think that also informs the inequality that Mr. Ompra mentioned at the beginning. It has to also address the fundamental development agenda through taking climate actions. So the climate and development nexus is very important part when it comes to how to approach to the actions and implementation. And also picking the measures that maximizes the sustainability impact. I think that's the proper approach to it. So I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. From the floor, well, are there any questions or comments? Maybe my friend? No? Okay, you're shy. All right, please. Okay. I love it.
Thank you very much for the session and all the information. I just wanted to hear some of your thoughts of, I know that it's focused on net zero emissions, but how have you considered the like synergies and trade-offs with adaptation, and how these actions, how these actions are related to increased risks in some cases? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, that's a very challenging question, and but actually JICA is working on this. In this afternoon, we are having a side event on co-benefits, and that includes like trade-off issue as well. At 3 o'clock, so you're welcome to come. But nevertheless, I would like to invite. Well, if any of you think about like the co-benefits and also maybe trade-off of mitigation and adaptation, and how we can face for this issue, because I think a city is actually, well, you have everything there, and then you really need to think about, well, not only about greenhouse gas emissions, but also life of citizens, and also maybe nature's, well, around that. So are there any response from that?
So in terms of adaptation linking to Bangkok, a lot of people talk about, how to manage the flooding crisis, building, underground tunnel, building water banks, etc. But I think the key point moving forward is talking about human lives, how to provide the adaptation system to, low-income community. I think that's the most important part. The infrastructure, we do it, but the human settlements, we really have to push forward. So these guys are really the victims of climate change in both ways. First, they are affected worse by all the natural disaster that happen in Bangkok. Once the flooding comes, it takes years for them to recover to their old lives. And second, in terms of energy transition and the use of, renewable energy coming into Thailand, coming into Bangkok, they have to pay more for energy use, or even related to, everyday lives like food and everything. So they are affected on two fronts. So infrastructure, they are really affected by all this disaster. Second, their lives is, they now have less disposable income because of the higher costs. How to ensure just transition is a big part of low-income communities in Bangkok. And so I want to stress the adaptation front onto the human side rather than the infrastructure side. But in terms of infrastructure, we also want to promote green adaptation, nature-based solution, ecosystem-based adaptations. And I think we still have room for more knowledge. And I think one of the reasons I'm here, which I talk to the governor, to find organizations that are like-minded and want to support Bangkok on this front as well. So not only thinking about the gray infrastructure, the green, the long term, how do we use nature to really support adaptation, the promotion of, green roof or any other parts that is more, niche in Thailand, but very widespread in the international communities will be beneficial.
Thank you very much. Nice questions, and also very good response. And I think this comes to the notion of like a livable city for all. So I think that is a key message from the governor and also from Bangkok. I think we are trying to achieve net zero emissions. That is our prerogative. However, we're not trying to achieve this goal only for rich people, only for people who have capacity without support. It is important to work with all people, and that is actually what we want to do, and we need you to join us for net zero emissions actions in Bangkok and also other cities in the world. So I think today, we had a very small opportunity to look at what is happening in Bangkok, and I hope we can continue this kind of discussion. Thanks to the Royal Government of Thailand, we have this opportunity to share our experiences in working with the BMA, and also the strong leadership of Mr. Chadchart, and then he actually sent Mr. Pomprom all the way from Bangkok to Sharm el-Sheikh. And I hope after this, you can continue about this discussion. And also, we are going to share all the information up in the website. And I hope we can come to Bangkok, which is a livable city for all entirely. So thank you very much for joining us today. So I would like to return to my microphone to Kumkubat.
Thank you so much, Mr. Makoto. Yes, and give a big hand of applause for this initiation between Japan and Thailand, and especially from Jaiga to Bangkok. And last but not least, we would like to say khop kun ka, or thank you. Please, Ms. Jonglap, the Director of Climate Change Corporation Promotion Division, to give some gift from Thailand Pavilion to all of you and giving a good picture. Also invited the key speaker open remark into the stage as well. ก่อนแล้วเดี๋ยวถ่ายรูปทีเดียวไหมคะ This is the session toward net zero emission in Bangkok from JICA and collaboration with BMA. With the advisor of the governor came to this session. We are very thank you for this initiative and looking forward to draw this plan into action. อาริกาโตโดโม